Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Now we are in the second week of Unlock 1, and I will tell you what is the good news and what is not such good news. The good news is that now, although everything's opened up, everybody is out. It's not as if infections have really shot up in the country in an uncontrollable manner, because you would have thought that with the lockdown, complete lockdown, everything was in control, and now it opens up, it will just balloon, the numbers will just balloon. Again, the time to make that call wasn't last week, because it takes at least about 5 to 6 days for an infection to show up in any way. It's now been nearly 10 days, and even before that, 2 weeks before that, lockdown had been loosened to quite an extent. So if you look at all that, you find that your positive cases are going up. As we had said to you in episode 490, our test positivity rate now is 8.02%. That is twice as much as it used to be until about a month back, but it's still not going out of control. So that is the good news. That tells you that perhaps this virus is still not spread out as much as you would have imagined. But remember, you're only testing asymptomatic people right now. So once again, the brighter side of the coin could be that a lot more people are asymptomatic than you imagine. Because if out of those who test positive, nearly 85% are asymptomatic, then all the asymptomatic ones who are not tested, a lot might still be asymptomatic. So that is on the positive side. Then you have some concern areas, and those concern areas are now rising in 3 cities of India. That is Delhi, Mumbai, I'm getting it right because I am from old times, so occasionally or often I say Bombay and I get a pushback from some of you, but I am of the generation of Bombay Meri Jaan and Bombay Ka Babu and etc. etc. Or Khwaja Ahmad Abbas's anniversary just came in today, Bombay Raat Ki Baahon Mein, so it's just frozen in my head. But Mumbai, so Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad. In fact, I could say Mumbai, Delhi and Ahmedabad. Delhi is now catching up, unfortunately, with Mumbai, and we spoke about it in some detail earlier. Now, these are the cities which now have the bulk of India's rising cases and rising fatalities. If you look at Delhi, the fatalities have really shot up in the last 10-12 days. It could be a function of many things, but it could also be a function of the fact that now there is a much better audit of deaths in hospitals. So it's now difficult to write off deaths as something else. We had a story done by Anisha Bedi in the print.in, which showed you that the number of people cremated or buried following the COVID norms was much larger than the number of fatalities declared by the government. But whatever it is, Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, these are the cities in trouble right now. The new metric that we started following now, deaths per million. Delhi is now 44 and rising, not nice. Mumbai is considerably higher and not coming down, not nice. In fact, by the time I finish on the screen, you will get the precise figure for Mumbai as well. Next, Ahmedabad. Once again, why do we extrapolate Ahmedabad? Because Gujarat itself, the highest for a state, the highest fatality rate is Delhi, which is about 44 per million. Maharashtra is about 24 per million, but once again, Mumbai will be much more than twice as much as that, and you can see the figure on the screen. And Gujarat is the third highest in India at 16 plus per million, which means bulk of it is coming from Ahmedabad. So the lesson we now learn is that the national effort somehow has to focus on these 3 big cities, because if you can do that, you can save a lot of lives instead of spreading it out everywhere. And Hyderabad again is a city of concern because we don't even know what's going on there. So these are the 3.5 areas of concern that we can see 10 days after the lockdown was lifted. Now, to test or not to or to not test is a question that everybody is raising. Surprisingly, there was a lot of clamor for testing when the crisis had just started. Now that was a time when infections were very few. So the question was, who do you test? You just can't test anybody who's sniffling and walks into a path lab and says, test me because I can afford to be tested, because then there would have been no limit to it. And also at that point, tests were not available for love or money. Now tests are available. India has 500,000 tests a day available, but still India is testing only about 1.42 to 1.46 lakhs a day, which is less than a third of India's capacity, which is not needed. Once again, you don't test everybody who comes in, because a lot of people also get sick psychosomatically, or they can start imagining that I have this problem, and just because they can afford it, they go get themselves tested, or they don't report it's an epidemic. They don't report to a centralized database so your contacts can be traced, etc., etc. Those problems are there. But now testing has to change. Testing strategy has to change. So testing strategy now has to focus on two things, as this data tells us. One, it has to focus on saving lives, because if you see an analysis, a preliminary analysis of fatalities in the big cities particularly, and you will see this data come out in research papers and things over the next 3-4 days. In Mumbai, for example, 60%, an analysis shows that 60% of people who have died within 4 days of arriving at the hospital. Now that is almost about 1/4 or 1/5 of what we are seeing overseas in the more developed countries. What does that mean? Because once you come to a hospital, you get the same treatment and the same facilities. What this means is that the patients are getting medical attention too late. By the time the patients are diagnosed and they get admitted, too much time is lost, and they suffer from hypoxia, lack of oxygen on their bodies, and they come with organ failure or damage to their organs, which the body cannot repair any longer. So an early diagnosis will save a lot of lives. That is one reason. The other reason for which now you need higher testing is because you've now decided to walk out of the lockdown and unlock and reopen the economy. So when you had locked down completely, you could do with limited targeted testing, because you were also building your infrastructure. But now that you're opening up the economy, how does someone like, say, Rajiv Bajaj, who's been complaining about the lockdown, and for very good reason, how does he resume his plants? If he has to resume his plants where tens of thousands of people work, how does HAL resume making the Tejas where thousands of people work? How does Coal India start mining, because tens of thousands of people work at its mines? Because people work close together. If one is sick, one is infectious, a lot of people will get infected. The way for them to do it, to mass test at their own level, and then to ask those who are positive to self-isolate if they are asymptomatic, or if they are deteriorating or breathless or short of oxygen, they should get early medical treatment. Now, this is something where governments don't have to spend money, employers can spend this money. Second, this will serve the purpose of, one, getting people to hospitals or medical care earlier. Second, keeping the others safer. So effectively, your employers will also become corona fighters. They will become partners in this fight. If an antibody tests come, good antibody tests come, it will be much easier. But until that happens, now this tough, strong, draconian state control over testing. Some babu decides who can be tested and who cannot be tested. Usually, I don't employ this word babu. I'll say civil servant, but I'm using it very deliberately now, because that's how this power is being exercised, that I have the power to decide whether you shall be tested or not. This has to end now. Government has the right to know what's happening as a result of these tests, but to control these tests and to keep them all under the thumb of the state I'm so sorry to use this expression, is Babugiri. That has to stop, because a virus like this doesn't respect any reputation and any power, least of all that of the bureaucrat. So that is the point now, that when there was clamor, so much testing was not needed and was not available. Now a lot of testing is available, but clamor for testing seems to have disappeared. Right now, this new strategy would require that testing is needed, because today you have bureaucracies and politicians working in cahoots. Why? To keep the overall numbers of positive cases low. That is self-defeating in many different ways. One, as we mentioned about Bombay, Mumbai, it is preventing people from, particularly poor people, from getting medical care early. And this will get worse, because medical care and hospital beds will now become more and more scarce. And second, this is then leading to this silent spread, because now there is no point denying at this point that in many communities now it is spreading. There was no community spread a few weeks back, but now in these cities, in these three cities, Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, definitely in large sections of these cities, particularly sections which are congested, where social distancing is not possible, this is spreading. And now when the factories open up and when the shop floors open up, this problem will arise. So let the private sector, let the employers also become part of this test, trace, isolate process. You cannot just do it under bureaucratic control. So what if numbers go up? Because the number, as we said, the metric we should now be chasing is case fatality rate, not test positivity rate or total number of positives. Now, there are some scientific facts also which tell you that why maybe we should not be, this is the other side, we should not be neurotic about testing, because now a lot of data has piled up that asymptomatic people shed much less of the virus than was imagined earlier, and in any case they don't spread the virus for more than 5 days or so. Nevertheless, you can't test anybody who lands up, but where people are willing to pay, where employers are willing to pay, where you are sure of getting the data punched into a centralized database, there is no logic in not letting it happen. Because I will tell you what can happen if you don't allow this. Now, this power is with the civil servant. Who will be tested, who will not be tested, which means if my uncle is a civil servant or if my uncle is a politician, then I will get tested. Example, Defense Secretary of India, wonderful man, he got tested. He wasn't symptomatic, but he got tested, whatever history of contact, etc. He got tested and he was found positive. By God's grace, he's doing all right, he's asymptomatic, he's isolating at home. But he's the Defense Secretary of India when there's a crisis on the Ladakh border. He'd be attending every meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security. He'd be meeting the Prime Minister, the three chiefs. If this had gone on, I'm exaggerating it, but this is not an impossibility. It is not even an improbability. If he had not been tested, if you had applied to him the rules that you would apply to me as any other citizen, that look, you are not symptomatic, will not test you, and unless your doctor gives you a certificate at the risk of having his license taken away and getting an FIR filed against him, that your doctor has physically examined you and you have symptoms, you can't be tested. If that standard was applied to the Defense Secretary, he would not be tested and he would have carried on like this, and you could have had a situation, and I'm taking my time telling you this because you should take a deep breath, when maybe the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, the External Affairs Minister, the Home Minister, the Finance Minister, they are all members of the CCS. All of them, the three service chiefs, the National Security Advisor, and a lot of other key people in the military and defense establishment would all be quarantining themselves, or will all be quarantined while the Chinese come marching into Ladakh. So think of what this can do to other environments. This is a good lesson. So time has now come for state governments and center to make use of what's available and shift a strategy, because as Maynard Keynes said, as facts change, I change my mind. So this has to now change. You cannot go on with the same Ghisapeta strategy which worked 2.5 months back. Now much has happened in 2.5 months. Much virus is flown through our population. So strategy has to be structured to meet this eventuality. Now you see some other factors coming up. One, ICMR and Government of India carry out a surveillance of cases of ILI, influenza-like illness, and SARI, which is severe acute respiratory illness. In both now you are seeing rising numbers. When it began it was 2%, now it's come to about 13%, which means there is a spread of the disease, and there is also a spread of the disease among those who are symptomatic. And Mumbai in fact is much worse than Delhi, way ahead of Delhi. For Maharashtra, the entire state, the total deaths are 3060, so it comes to a rate of death per million at 24.127 per million. But for Mumbai city it is 126.5 per million, so it's almost 3 times of what it is in Delhi right now. Now it could be a function of anything. It could be a function also of how Mumbai is counting this and how Delhi is counting this. Once again, before we conclude, focus on Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad. These 3 cities are also very crucial to India. They are the engines of our economy, governance, and national security. So all 3 need a different kind of attention now. So once again, all this can't be left to their respective state governments. There has to be a more centralized and a more holistic approach to fighting the corona crisis and localizing it in these 3 cities, because that will save many lives going ahead. You want more evidence of what this approach of not testing or being shy of testing even today can lead you to? Look at what's happened now with the head of the Press Information Bureau turning positive. Now he's been hospitalized, but it now turns out, and see a story by Sania Dhingra on the print today, that 3 key ministers, that is Nitin Gadkari, Prakash Javadekar and Narendra Singh Tomar, 3 cabinet ministers attended a press conference with him, sitting close to him just the other day. So in this case also, Mr. Dhatwalia, the PIB chief, got tested only because he is a civil servant. So this monopoly of the bureaucracy and the government, testing of people for coronavirus now cannot be a state monopoly at the discretion of the state, because if you do that, then the first institution that might pay the price for it, unfortunately, will be the state itself.